Hello. And I guess welcome to us. You've been here the whole time. Let's get started. Let's dive right in with some quick introductions. Alicia, do you want to take it away?
Hello, beautiful people. I'm Alicia Scott, the CEO and founder of Range Beauty. We are makeup for skin that acts up, solving the problem between choosing makeup and having eczema and acne. We recently launched at Sephora, and we were also on Shark Tank.
Amazing.
Great. Hey, I'm Keith. I'm a founder of a company called Lightfield, and Lightfield is an AI-native CRM or customer relationship manager for founders and small businesses.
My name is Paul. Is this on? Yes?
Ish.
My name is Paul. I'm the founder and CEO at a company called Quilt. We make really good-looking heat pumps, and so if you want to be comfortable in your home, check out quilt.com.
Amazing. And in this case, last and least, my name is Malthe. I'm a designer at Stripe. And we are doing a panel here today about taking products from functional to essential. So let's learn a little bit about that. So what does great design mean to us up here? Paul, do you want to start?
Easy softball question to start.
Yeah.
Great design. Really well-solved problems. So I think really good design starts with really understanding like what problem you're trying to solve. And when you experience something, usually it feels kind of frictionless. I think when it's been really well designed, it's almost like you don't realize it's well designed because it's not intrusive.
Frictionless, not intrusive. Yeah. Whoa. We're getting. They say feedback is a gift, but I don't know if this particular kind covers it. Testing.
I'm misbehaving. Okay.
Yeah.
This works. Thank
Works
you.
better. All right. Alicia.
Yes. So for me, when it comes to product design, I'm always thinking about what actually makes it essential. There's a difference between something just being functional in your daily life and it actually being essential. And for that, I think about it eliminating a painful trade-off for the consumer. So when I think about with Range, we wanted to create makeup so you had that self-expression without having to sacrifice your skin health. So when a consumer no longer has to make that decision, I think it makes that product more essential to their daily life. I believe it also gives them a sense of belonging. So you're not just pushing a product out, you're now making them feel represented and seen. They're part of a community. And then I also just think it's the intention. So it's in the actual foundation of the product you're creating, you're thinking of the consumer first instead of as an afterthought or through marketing claims. So I feel like that's what takes it and makes it an actual essential part of your life.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, just to build off of that, really, I think good design is sort of the never-ending iteration of creating products that help you achieve outcomes that matter to you. I say outcomes that matter to you. That could be feeling included. That could be, liking who you are. That could be helping you achieve a business outcome. But also enjoying the process of getting there. Which is to say that you could argue that PG&E helps me create outcomes that matter to me. But I certainly don't enjoy the process of getting there. And I think that's maybe what good design
Not their fault
is.
you have to clean your house.
Yeah, exactly. but I think that's maybe the good design part of it. It's both helping you achieve things, but also feeling good doing it.
If anyone happened to watch the Johnny Ive and Patrick Collison conversation at Stripe's conference last week or the week before that, I think there was something there close to what you were talking about too, Paul, is he mentioned that you can feel that whoever designed this thing cares about me, the person opening the package of cables or whatever that was, right? But the care coming through, I think that's very much part of what I think about it. And Alicia, you were talking about like the actual title and purpose of this panel, which was the essential design, or what makes products essential. So how does one know when one is either close to or at that point, when you have designed something, when you have produced something that is actually essential? I guess the Silicon Valley version of that is product market fit, but let's maybe use essential instead. I know you've experienced it.
Yes.
Can you put words to it?
Yeah, I will I'm always going to use Range Beauty as an example as
Of
much
course.
as I can. But for us, the biggest note to that was when we had customers who were going to their dermatologist telling them, because of your eczema, because of your acne, you're not going to be able to wear makeup, you shouldn't wear makeup, the stigma and the myth around that. They still wanted to enjoy that. They still loved either the, again, self-expression that came from makeup, possibly the confidence boost that came when they could cover up their dry patches, hyperpigmentation, breakouts, what have you. Coming to us, seeing that we formulated with that in mind first, being able to safely use it and for them to now have this in their routine without having to worry about their skin. And them going to their expert, their professional, their dermatologist, and saying, oh, well, you told me I couldn't, but here I actually found something that works, and now that dermatologist is referring it to their patients. And I think the bigger picture of we're not trying to fix it, we're not saying that this is the end all be all, but we want you to feel seen, we want you to know that we are creating this space for you where it traditionally has not been made.
So in a way, it doesn't exactly boil down to, but the utility that it's solving an important problem for you without involving a range of trade-offs from price or quality or something else.
Yes.
I think you, sorry, just to stay with you for a second, Alicia, I think you mentioned community as well. I would love to hear, I hadn't thought of it like that before. Like where is community in an essential product?
Absolutely. I feel for us in an industry that has long pushed flawless skin or perfection, we are really speaking to the underrepresented. We're looking towards the people who are typically overexposed and overlooked, and making sure that we speak to them first when it comes to our formulations, when it comes to the images that we use on social, on our website, the images that show up at Sephora that traditionally you're seeing airbrush skin, and we're showing up and it's acne, it's eczema, it's things you don't traditionally see in this space. And again, making sure the true intention is there, where people have not seen groups and communities show up for them in this space where they are often cast to the side.
Yep.
And now they're able to come to us beyond just a product. They're coming to us, we like to say, you're entering Range Beauty world. And what's happening when you leave out on the other side? How are you feeling? How have we made that impact on you?
Amazing. That is very beautiful, and for obviously an intensely personal and very touchy subject. So thanks for that, Paul. Is HVAC technology essential?
Yes.
Okay, great. Moving on.
Yeah. I think in the most basic sense, it's like what is absolutely required, right? And we've been heating our homes since our homes were caves. So there's a funny fact. Mechanical heating predates humanity because Homo erectus were the ones that started heating their caves, not Homo sapiens. So I don't really know how you get more essential than that. It's kind of like food, maybe clothing. Many of the most important cities in the world could not exist without cooling, like Vegas, Dubai, like literally they could not exist. Like Phoenix. You've ever been to Phoenix in summer? So in the sense of like solving an essential problem, I think a good definition would be that, like, can you survive without this? But then there's the idea of like, what is the essence of something, right? And something else that we like to think about is sort of the evolution past fire. So we've been using combustion in some form as our primary source of heating, and then for most of human history, light. And then in the mid 18th century, half that problem got solved. With mechanical lighting. And now we're at this point in humanity where we're actually finally evolving past fire in a permanent way by being able to replace both heating and lighting in one place. So our product actually has a built-in light and heating in one, because we're almost trying to like be like that modern fire. So we're trying to like what's getting the essence of what that thing does. We even played with the idea of like a campfire mode. We have a little speaker in there, so we could have like the little like crackling. Like we like to do fun things as well. But
some s'mores essence flowing out.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, that's V2 is when we have the smell sprays. I don't know what those are called.
In addition, or apart from that, I think I have not yet bought one of your systems, but I assume it's dare I say better, but probably also pricier than the Home Depot and the contractor version. Does that mean it has to be more essential, or what's the design-wise and positioning-wise? Like how do you overcome that hurdle?
So it may be shocking, but we're not more expensive.
Oh.
And I'm not just saying that, we actually aren't. But also there's
Is that important then? Like,
But-
can you do both?
Yeah, but just like with an EV or something, there's the thing you pay, and then there's the cost you save as
Yeah.
you drive it, right? So there's also like we have a very, very strong energy efficiency story. We're dramatically more efficient than really any other system, any kind of heat pump. So you save money as well. So if you're saying, going back to this idea of like what does everyone care about? It doesn't matter where you are in the political aisle or the socioeconomic, like you want to save less you want to save on your energy bills, right?
Right.
So we're trying to get at these value propositions. Like I want to be warm I want to be warm in my home in the winter. I don't want to be sweating in my sheets in the middle of the summer. I want to save energy on my energy bills. I want something beautiful in my home that I'm proud of when my neighbors come over, my family comes over. When I sell my house, I want it to be worth more than it was before. These are like fundamental human desires: pride of ownership, social belonging.
Right.
And so that we're trying to target those.
And so it seems again like a story of being good at picking the right trade-offs. Like producing and designing anything is about the trade-offs, and picking the right ones for your product and your industry is crucial. Keith, I know most good founders, most good products have involved the users of the product in some way, shape, or form in the genesis or in the creation of it. How did you go about doing that with your company and your product? And what are your thoughts on this topic?
It's funny. I think as a founder building with AI, one of the things that I had to learn the hard way was the recognition of where we were in the technology maturation cycle. Which is to say that I think a lot of these principles about ask your customers what to build and build them exactly that, and then give it to them and ask them if they like it, and then use the words that they gave you to market it. I think that applies sort of to products and services later in the maturation cycle, where customers understand what to ask for and they understand what's possible. Whereas I think in a living, breathing field like artificial intelligence right now, it's not clear that customers know what to ask for. And I'll give you two examples. One, before starting Lightfield, I had a company called Tome, which was an AI presentation tool. And when we asked our customers what to build, they were like, oh, I want to snap my fingers and have a high quality work grade presentation that I can send to VCs, and then the money will be wired through Stripe right after. And
I kind of want that too, yeah.
Yeah. And we obviously couldn't build that. And I think in the context of our new company, we're building a CRM that's hopefully your first and last go-to-market tool for a founder. I think when we spoke to salespeople and founders early on, they sort of gave us these like bimodal answers of what they wanted. On the one extreme, they weren't ambitious enough in what they were asking for. They were like, it would be great if AI could summarize customers' emails so that I don't have to read as much of them. We're like, cool, Apple already does that. Or on the other extreme, they're like, I'm ready for digital workers. I'm ready to never hire a salesperson again, and I want the system to find me new customers, pitch to them, build proposals for them, change my product roadmap, and basically like run my whole company on autopilot. And the truth is always in the middle. And I think that we sort of needed to struggle with customer problems as sort of the input, but you then sort of need to separate this input from, well, like, what are you going to invent and what's sort of technologically possible? So I think in our new company, we're treating it as like a diffuse input into the process rather than something that drives the whole process.
Right. So to again find the right spot between like how and who and what do you ask about, and how do you interpret that? How do you actually use that as input to your process? Alicia, I would assume that in a beauty and skincare world, you need to involve your users, your customers. It doesn't work only if it works in the laboratory, right?
Right.
So how have you gone about doing that?
For me, with my own journey with acne and eczema, I felt that there was no better input than someone else's personal experience. Like, you can do all of the clinical trials and data research when you're actually speaking to someone who is living with the consequences of having eczema on the daily basis, or having cystic or hormonal acne on the daily basis, or being overprescribed on things that are even making their skin even worse. There's nothing like that personal touch and getting their input. So for Range, we did build with our community from the beginning, and that went from everything from packaging to formulations, making sure we excluded fragrances, figuring out what the top irritants for our customers were, figuring out if this pump was better, if this bottle was better. So we built with them through our social media platforms to ensure that we were actually delivering something that they wanted to see and that they were greatly missing out on. And we have a huge feedback loop with our community.
Yeah.
We're constantly speaking to them, because if they're not buying it, what are you making it for? And so if they're actually coming to you and you're like, okay, there's 1,500 people that told us this pump doesn't work, but we're going to keep using it because we get better margins on it. How is that going to turn out in the long run?
Right.
So for us, we do have consistent feedback opportunities to ensure we're on the right path with what we're creating, again, from the packaging angle, from the formulation angle, from our sustainability angle, how we're showing up in real life, where our customer wants to shop us. So they are a huge part of how we're building.
So it's good to keep in mind that sort of different strokes for different folks, as it were. Like, if you're a AI product, forget about AI. If you're a technology product, there's probably one way of soliciting and handling customer input. And if you're in the real world, if you're DTC or some other version of that, probably it looks different. And it's important to know what it is that you are doing at any given point. And so, Paul, I think then also when you, if your experiences in talking to your users is anything like mine have been, there's often an aha moment as you're developing the product or the company or whatever it is that you're doing. Do you have an aha moment in your journey of developing Quilt where you knew it worked, or knew it definitely didn't work, or you needed to do something, or you were right on it?
Yeah, there was a few, but I think I'm going to go to the very beginning. How many people in the audience are an entrepreneur or identify as an entrepreneur in some way? Can we get some audience participation? Okay, great. This is going to be relevant then. So this is my third startup, and my last one I sold 12 years ago, and I had spent 8 years on it. And my lesson was, when you're starting a company, you're probably going to spend at least a decade on it, or you should be ready to do that. And I'd started in my early 20s, and a lot of people, I didn't think I was going to be in it for that long. And I had a lot of friends who'd gone through accelerators with, and they were still grinding away on this company that they were, they didn't want to, they wanted to be the cockroach or whatever, but just people grinding for a long, long time. And so my lesson was, if you're going to start a company, you have to have at least a decade on it. Found myself in Silicon Valley. That's how I got here. I'm from somewhere else. And I went to go work for some big companies to see what life was like in the major leagues. I'm like, I'm going to just buy some time to get my next idea. And I think the mistake that I made, and a lot of people make, is you take the hot tech of the day and you try to find a way to wrap a company around it. And the problem is, most hot techs of the day last a couple of years. If y'all remember, 3 years ago was crypto, right? Now it's all Gen AI. It's been there for about 2 years. Before crypto, we had like a drone and things stuff. But after seeing these cycles, it's like, okay, if I'm going to be honest with myself, this is not a strategy to get to 10 years of commitment. There's just no way, because the shelf life is too short.
Right.
And I just couldn't crack it. So I actually tried to be a VC, believe it or not, for a while. No offense to any investors. I love you all. But the solution for me was, I was on paternity leave with my second kid, and I realized, as cheesy as it sounds, if I worked on the problem that I truly believed was the most important problem for my kids, that you couldn't fail. Because the very worst case scenario is you spend 10 years of your life trying to make life better for your kids. And the best case scenario is you help solve the most important problem facing humanity, because by definition, that's what you're working on. So that was the aha moment for me. And it just completely changed the way I thought about being an entrepreneur and starting a company. And it was like, well, I just have to always be working on whatever I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, believe is the thing that matters. And in that moment, it was climate change, and then the energy transition being the opportunity. So it was kind of problem and solution. Solution being energy transition, problem being climate change. So yeah, that was my aha moment at the beginning.
That sounds like hard mode, though. Is that how you know
mode.
it? Is that how you know you're on the right tack? If it's impossibly difficult?
I actually think very much so. Because I think also, as many entrepreneurs will understand, your barriers to entry and defensibility is a direct correlation by how difficult your problem is, right? Like, So you actually want to be doing really hard things. That means if you can solve it, it's really hard for anyone else to do it too. And there's probably real value on the other side. Because if there was real value on the side of an easy problem, people would already be doing it.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. So you take the, I guess, twin or triple ingredients of an idea, customer insights, and an aha moment. And as a founder, what do you do then? What is your role in developing? I think it's clear to me what the role of a founder is in developing the company as the CEO and that kind of stuff. But as you grow the product and the experience that you're designing, what is the founder's role there? Like, are you the head of design, the head of product, the head of sales? Are you all of those things at one? Are you some of it? Do you wake up in the morning and decide which one of them you are? Keith, do you want to?
Yeah.
Who are you today, tomorrow?
Today, I guess I'm the head of sales, but I think as a founder, your first job is to be the most discerning customer of your company. Which is to say that we have this saying internally of we only create me-ware, not you-ware. I think you have to really like the products that you're building and want to use them every day before you try to foist them upon people outside of your company. And I think that means just having discerning taste and holding the bar high and like really liking it before continuing. And for me, that means that I just use our product hours and hours a day. And that way, when I talk to our customers and our prospects, I can speak to them from personal experience, and I'm selling them something that I believe works. And then if you're sort of pathological about building something that you would love, then you might realize that you need to become pretty good at product design, or you need to become pretty good at vibe coding a prototype to convince your team to build something.
But then specifically, Keith, does that mean that you are, if and when you choose it, you are the CTO and or the head of design and the head of sales, and you will come in and tell, I forget how big your company is and how many of these roles you actually have in seat, but how do you, let's assume you have some of these roles in seat. How do you approach the fact that you probably are the most discerning customer, you are the holder of the original idea, and you really think that we should be designing this differently or implementing this differently and from a tech point of view?
Yeah, it's a good question.
How's that danced?
It's a good question because I'm certainly the least competent engineer in our company, and our design team sometimes throws me out of critique. But I think you hire people because you think that they're highly skilled and you believe they can make things that your customers will love.
But when they don't, what do you do?
They don't. I think it's funny. I think it's your job to be the unhappy customer, right? And it's funny, we used to have this culture, and I think we got this from when we worked at like Facebook or something, where you were ashamed to say that you didn't like something. You needed data. You needed to go find a chart, and then you needed to go interview 14 people off of the street just to come back with a deck that was like, these people don't like this, and I think it's
stats sick.
It's stats sig, no one likes this. And I think it's much more honest to say like, hey, I am a customer of this product. I use this every day, and I don't like this. This is why I want it to be different. And then sort of force your company to sort of respond with, well, I'm a user of this product too. Like everyone uses our CRM, for example, and I want to use it differently. And I think if you can move away from like heady abstractions into like, do we like the work and do we want to use it? I think you can create a productive environment to make well-designed products.
How is that for you, Paul? You worked in big tech, and where it's like a very careful dance to have opinions about anything about at any given moment, and to now presumably having strong opinions about everything.
You mentioned the interview sessions where people don't care.
Yeah.
We actually talk a lot about care at Quilt as well, and I think it's kind of the first sibling of taste. I'm also reading this book by Rick Ross. Probably some people have read it, The Creative Act. And Rick Ross says he's not good at anything except for he has good taste. And I think that there's this, at the end of the day, that care is sometimes expressed in very qualitative ways. So what you're saying, like you can't be ashamed to not have data to back up the fact that I deeply care about this being this way, and this is the way it is, and this is. That's why I think these kind of auteur movies and things. There's often a kind of a personality that's steering the ship. And I've seen in big tech it go both ways. Actually, I've worked in big tech companies where you had a lot of qualitative, driving and personality and more data driven. I've always much more preferred to be in that former environment, even if I'm not the one steering the ship. But to the actual answer to the question, the role of founders is, I mean, of course it evolves as the company grows, right?
Yeah.
And you're constantly letting more qualified people than you take over the role. But that sort of like nexus of care, I think that is the thing you cannot delegate. Everyone needs to care, but somebody needs to be holding the torch. And so,
Yep.
yeah.
Alicia, I'm dying to hear. I don't know if you maybe you are a chemist by training and education. Are you?
I'm not. I mean, I did start making formulas in my living room, but I feel like as a founder, coming in at the level of building from the ground up, it would be a disservice to yourself to not have insight into all of these different roles. I wore all of these hats initially, one because I couldn't afford to otherwise, but the other because I honestly wanted to know what went into all these departments that I would eventually then have to hire for or lead. And I feel like the balance for us was having boundaries, but allowing creative freedom within those boundaries. So there are some things where it's non-negotiable. Okay, we're for acne, eczema, reactive skin, and so if I hire you and I think you're great, I think your background is great, you have someone or maybe yourself is attracted to the products that we create, but then you're saying, oh, you know what would be really cool if we make this heavily fragrance, or fragrance is really trending right now, we need to do something about that. Okay, now we're breaking away from what sits at our North Star and what sits at our mission. So ensuring that we're still staying within these boundaries, but I want you because of what you can bring, what your background is, how different you are. I don't need robots. And I want you to be able to tell me when something would be great or when something isn't working, because that's how you're able to scale and evolve. Founders, a lot of times, this is our baby. We get stuck in our head. We take things so personal because this came from us. This was an idea that we planted. But I believe that the true growth and scale is in allowing others to have some type of input and creative freedom in what you're building.
Yes, I like that a lot, and that's, as a designer, and I'm the receiving end on a lot of people saying I'm not a designer, but this is there's an art on both sides here, right? Like in the receiving end and the giving end. But so if you are not a PhD in chemistry and Keith, you're the worst engineer in your company, how do you have authority and I guess veto right or decision power over those areas where you are technically, very big air quotes, not qualified? How does that work?
Again, it comes from a lot of education, like self-education,
Right.
Reading through a lot of different clinical studies, speaking with dermatologists, speaking with cosmetic chemists. For example, we had a formula where the lab really wanted to push it. It hit for 6 fungal acne inhibitors, and they were like, well, it's only potential, so we should just go forward with it. I'm like, well, no. Even if it's potential, it goes against what we're creating and who we're creating for. So making sure that you have the knowledge to stand up and say, I know you're the expert, but this is going against what I'm building. This is going against our customer and our audience. And so how do we tweak this? Or there have been times where I've done research about an ingredient and I've come and said, how do we implement this? Is this something that would be useful? And then it causes another deep dive. So there still needs to be that education there. I've taken cosmetic courses through Spelman. And so making sure I have something to back it up, but also making sure I'm not allowing them to just steer the ship just because they're the subject matter expert. There has to be some type of give and take.
Yep.
It's funny. I'm definitely less studied in the space, but I think something that I feel like it's the job of the founder to fight is you're supposed to fight the industrialization of your company. And what I mean by that is as soon as your company kind of works, everyone wants their own silo and kingdom, and they want to separate the work. My last company, I was thinking about this for a moment, where like we have someone who makes brand campaigns, we have someone who makes performance marketing campaigns, we have someone who identifies which customers we should sell to, we have someone who emails those people, then we have a different person who takes meetings with those people, and then once they sign a contract, they hand them off to another person, and all of those people synthesize documents that go to our product engineering and design team. I was thinking about the dysfunction of this, and it's like you're almost like playing hot potato with who gets to be the voice of the customer, and it's very hard to innovate in that sort of environment. And I think that's my reason to believe in sort of new small businesses and startups being able to fight incumbents with tens of thousands of people. And I think the way that you fight that is you make it feel like all of those things are done by the same person.
Yeah.
You know, you make sure that insights are being passed from one person to the other, that it all looks like it has the same vision and the same pen. And I think as a founder, if you have that sort of holistic view of things, then I think you have a lot of insight and value to add at every step along the way.
I like that. Changing gears a little bit, Paul, well, all of you, but I would love to hear from you, Paul. All of you, and I mean this in the nicest way, but all of you are working on commodities, like things that a version of it already exists in the world. How did you earn the right to be the one that your customers, your consumers choose? How dare you, first of all, right? Like, and second of all, maybe that's the founder energy, but I'd love to hear about it. And second of all, like, I assume there's no magic trick, but what do you go through? What goes through your head, and what activities do you go through to earn that place?
Yeah, how dare we indeed?
Yeah.
Innovate. God, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I think it's our obligation. It's our societal obligation as people in a free society like this, and as people with skills, right? Whether it be product design or any kind of vision, this is how the world moves forward, right? Like, one of the key ingredients to economic activity is entrepreneurialism, right? So, like, I think there's actually a moral mandate to, when you see a problem like this, you know, whatever it may be, we all have obviously very different problems, that you think you can move the ball forward, you should do that.
Yeah.
And so in the case of what I'm working on, for all the reasons I gave, very essential. And I realized I never in the world thought I would be an HVAC entrepreneur, ever. I was doing SaaS companies before this, working at Google, like, what am I doing in HVAC? And it just blew my mind how many emissions and how much energy was used in the home. It's actually more than even vehicles. And I was like, cool, I should probably get a heat pump for my house, just as, like, you know, because I care about this problem. And it was just such a bad experience. And all the alarm bells went off in my head. It's like, I know the people who can make a world-class version of this, whether it's the way the customer is acquired, the way we design the software around it, the way we, you know, design the product itself, like everything. And that's what opportunity smells like. It's like, there's clearly a market, there's clearly money changing hands, there's clearly a big problem to be solved, but the solution is deficient. And there's like arbitrage. I actually define a lot of what we do as technology arbitrage.
Yeah.
Because all these great ideas are invented around us, right? Whether it be from AI or the way the mobile engineering works, or the way we learn how to acquire customers, but just nobody had applied it to this giant sleeping industry. And so there was a lot of value to be had by just sort of importing what we knew to be best practices and had never been applied in this domain. And again, like, so what's the net effect? We've created a solution that has moved the ball forward. And hopefully the competitors take note and they move forward and we push each other. Right? So that's, I mean, there's almost like a moral mandate. And I'd say the few times that I feel like we've had giant leaps forward, it was usually due to competitive threats. So like somebody launched something and it just kind of, you know, the immune system goes on, and it's a good thing, right? Like, that's how we move forward.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think that's.
I think you did, almost, in the true panel way. So, Alicia, what about you? Like, skincare is such a crowded industry, is it not? Like,
It's not.
It's not?
No. So
It's
for
just you.
us, just for me, again, the personal journey, for me having acne, eczema, being a Black woman, when it comes to makeup, we were like drastically overlooked. And when I did a deep dive, it's a $1.6 billion market, and we are just scraping the surface of it. And a lot of companies don't want to touch it because they don't think that there is a large audience for it, and we busted out and said, actually, there is. And so when we look at how we're trying to address this in unique ways and trying to come from the approach of the skincare, makeup hybrid, speaking directly to reactive skin concerns, we're honestly filling in a huge white space, and we're seeing it in the milestones that we've been able to achieve, the traction we've been able to achieve. And I feel like, if not me, then who? It didn't exist, and I had the problem. I wanted to solve for it. And when I think about, there are so many makeup brands and companies that exist, and if we're talking to the customer who's not avoiding it solely because of their skin concerns, if we're talking to another customer who we're trying to get to come over to our side, the biggest thing is they don't want the risk of disappointment. That's why they don't want to switch from what they usually have on their vanity or in their makeup bag. And how are we mitigating that disappointment? How are we setting ourselves as this unique difference instead of just saying that we're better? What actually is the changing factors with us? And I feel like we've done a great job at that.
So from there being a lot of economic activity, money changing hand, and a bad experience, you identify that, to there actually not being enough or any economic activity, and where you wanted to build a product and a company. To Keith, you're building a CRM. Surely you must admit there is some competition for a CRM in the world.
Yeah, there's a couple ones out there. I mean, let me do a quick show of hands. There's a couple of founders here. Who here uses Salesforce or HubSpot? What's up? Great. How many of you are happy with your return on investment and what it does for you? Okay, got three people. Great.
You have 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
The point I was trying to make was that I think in these really crowded spaces, there's actually segments of people that are underserved. And I was trying to make this argument here of, HubSpot and Salesforce don't care about you as early stage founders, right? They're focused on 2,000 plus person enterprises or 10,000 plus person enterprises, and I think that sort of opens up the opportunity for someone who cares about this underserved market to just listen more, invest more, and be more obsessed with your problems.
I love it. I'll cut you off there. So the advice to leave us with is the better experience will win. It'll be hard, but it will win. To obsess over the niche, to finding an actually undeveloped area and owning it. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.